If you're a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, the video game, you know that you're a security guard that is going to try to keep these animatronics in check while watching the pizzeria for any would-be burglars or vandalizers. However, when we're looking at the movie, there is a lot that's different and a lot that's similar that we're going to go through today. The movie opens with a security guard running for his life in some kind of abandoned or really rundown building. He goes through a vent and is trying to escape something when he gets captured. The next thing you see, there is a mask that has some really razor-sharp spinning things that come right toward his face. And then you don't really know what happens to him, but you can take a good guess. Mike is a troubled guy. He really has a hard time keeping jobs for longer than 1 or 2 months, and he really can't hold any job that really means much. It's paying very poorly, and he has these recurring issues where he can't really get his life together. He's also the main guardian for his sister Abby, and the two of them are having some financial difficulties. Mike is a troubled guy. He can't really hold down a job for very long, and at one point in the movie, the very beginning, you see that he is talking to one of his friends as what looks to be a security guard at a mall, and there seems to be some confusion with a boy being taken by someone. And when he goes to confront the guy who took him, he finds out that that was actually his father. Matt Lillard plays a career counselor who is going to try and give him another job in order to keep himself afloat. At the same time, you have some aunt that is giving Mike a hard time, Aunt Jane, who really wants to take custody of Abby, claiming that Mike is not really fit to be a parent. However, it looks to be that Aunt Jane has some ulterior motives, which I'll get to in a little bit. Mike's career counselor, Steve, gives him a job offer that is low paying, only works nights, and seems to be a dead-end job, which Mike originally refuses, but after seeing that Abby is in danger of being taken away from him, he accepts the job. And as we know, this is the job to go to the Freddy Fazbear's restaurant. What I really did enjoy about the movie starting from the beginning is that this would be really easy to just throw someone into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and then just have a bunch of scary things happen. Instead, there is some premise and some level of trying to create a world and a story that you can get on board with in order to root for Mike, because he's fallen on hard times. He has to take care of his younger sister, and as you see throughout the movie, he has recurring nightmares of his brother being abducted many years earlier. That actually did happen according to the movie, and it's not just a dream. He keeps reliving it because of the guilt of not saving his brother in time.
Garrett?
So Mike, played by Josh Hutcherson, he's at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza when he falls asleep and has this recurring nightmare. This time, there are 5 young children that he doesn't recognize that seem to have witnessed the crime. When he tries to approach them, they all run away, and he wakes up with more questions than answers. The next day, you see in a rundown diner, there is actually a pretty awesome cameo by Matt Pat, who, if you don't know who that is, he was the creator and founder of Game Theory for many years. He makes a quick cameo.
Thought it was breakfast.
Some people say that, but you know, it's just a theory.
Are you being paid by the word, or could we have a minute? Thank you.
And then you see that it's the lawyer, Aunt Jane, the babysitter who's actually watching Abby a lot of the time, and her brother. And they're talking about how to force Mike to give over custody of Abby or lose custody of Abby in some way. The brother offers that he and some friends can vandalize Freddy Fazbear's, showing that Mike is not doing his job as a security guard, in which he will lose the job and eventually custody of Abby. The second night, Mike meets Officer Vanessa Shelley, played by Elizabeth Lale, and she perpetually looks like she's about to cry the entire movie. She explains to Mike that 5 children went missing there many years ago, during the 80s, and that's why Freddy Fazbear's closed down. However, the owner doesn't really want to give over ownership to anyone else. Once Mike leaves, those vandals break in, but they should have known what was coming to them.
Come on. Come on.
Well, now that the babysitter's dead, Mike has to take Abby with him. So on the third night, he does just that. Now here's where things start to take a bit of a turn for me in this movie, where these animatronics are supposed to be terrifying, and yet we have a scene like this.
You did it! Are you okay?
I like it in here.
Yes, Abby has befriended these animatronics. As you come to find over the course of the movie, these animatronics are actually being controlled by the souls of the children who died back in the 80s. These animatronics mention something about a yellow rabbit, and there are some pictures on the wall about that, but no one's really sure what this yellow rabbit is about. All of the animatronics are a fox, a bunny, a bear, and a chicken, so the yellow rabbit doesn't seem to really fit in. The whole idea with Vanessa is very strange. She's a police officer, yet really doesn't act like one. She really doesn't seem to be a police officer. This seems to either be what the writers said she should be, or this was just a thin veneer to get her to be involved in the story. It really didn't make sense to me. While everyone is building a fort with the animatronics and playing with them, Abby's actually injured by one of the animatronics. The next morning, which would then be the 5th night, Mike asks Aunt Jane to watch Abby because he literally has no one else to do so. He goes back to the pizzeria, takes some sleeping pills, and that's when the 5 children appear in his dream again and make him an offer. They say that he can stay with Garrett forever if they have Abby in exchange. At first, guilt-ridden and trying to find an answer to save his brother at some point, he accepts. But then, he changes his mind, and that's when they all attack. They strap him down into that chair that you saw in the beginning of the movie with the first security guard. However, he's able to escape just in time. Mike narrowly escapes, he's injured by Foxy, and at the same time you see cutaways of Golden Freddy coming to get Abby. He kills Aunt Jane, brings Abby back to the pizzeria so that this all can go down the way they want it. Vanessa shows up on this 5th night. She's looking at Mike's injuries, presumably because she knows first aid as a police officer, and she reveals that she's actually William Afton's daughter. And if you don't know who William Afton is, he is the owner of the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Now, William Afton was the big, bad, evil person who killed the children back in the 80s and turning them into these animatronics. So now that Mike understands that Abby has been brought back to the pizzeria and these animatronics are trying to take her soul, he goes back in to try and save her. According to Vanessa, water and electricity, as would happen with any machine, will shut them down temporarily. And he does just that with a taser and some water. Saving Abby from Foxy, Mike goes into a dark part of the pizzeria, and a figure emerges from the shadows. So this giant golden rabbit that they've been referencing reveals himself to be Steve, the career counselor from earlier. He's actually William Afton. Vanessa, who is William's daughter, tries to stop him from hurting anyone else, and he stabs her with a knife. Mike tells Abby that the children need to be reminded of what has really happened. So she draws pictures and throws them onto the wall and tears down the old ones now that the animatronics see what's really happened and remember what has occurred. They turn on William Afton and corner him. Mr. Cupcake attacks and hits him in the ribcage, which activates the spring locks in his suit. They snap onto him, injuring him gravely. Then the animatronics drag him away as the pizzeria starts to collapse due to the rage of these children. Vanessa, who was stabbed, is in the hospital recovering. She's currently in a coma. Mike and Abby are more or less back to their regular lives. The movie closes back in the pizzeria where one of the children opens the door to show William Afton still struggling to survive. Some things I really wanted to get into are the fact that the largest issue that I had with this movie is it just wasn't scary. You have the opportunity to show Foxy running down the hall. You have the opportunity to show these animatronics tearing people apart or stuffing them in suits. For the most part, you don't really get a ton of gore or blood and guts. Now, you don't have to necessarily have that to make a good scary movie, but a lot of times what started to happen was it felt like, oh, Bonnie's going to crush this vandal, and then the door is closed and you don't really see anything. You should see someone getting torn limb from limb, and there's just like a subtle nod to what might have happened. One of the things I did like is the fact that there's a family dynamic that really drives the story. It could have just been a security guard finding a job and trying to figure out what's happening. And instead, you have more at stake, and the stakes get raised in a way that was unexpected for me. The animatronics look awesome. I mean, not only are they spot on to what the games look like, but they also moved really well. They moved very jerky, and they moved in a creepy way, and I really did enjoy that, even if the payoff for when they attacked someone wasn't really there. Most of the other things were not that great. Vanessa finds the sleeping pills that Mike is using. She confronts him, and they talk near a river about what's going on, and then she launches the pills into the river. None of it really makes sense. Like, that whole part with Vanessa being a police officer seemed like it was so forcefully shoehorned in there that it wasn't really worth having. It would have been better if she was maybe posing as a secondary security guard instead of being this police officer character. Something that I thought was really interesting was that they went to the afterlife by going to sleep. Mike is having these guilt-ridden dreams of his brother being abducted, which wasn't hard to figure out that William Afton probably killed him. You know, it was around the same time. It was a child being abducted. It was the same concept as what happened with the other children in the pizzeria. So there was that connection, but it wasn't hard to figure out where this was going. Having said that, when he does go to sleep and he does communicate with the children, I thought that that was a unique way to further the story and give the characters of the animatronics more life to them. No pun intended. There could have been a little bit more done there, and I do think the children came off very innocent in the beginning, and then the leader, who was in Golden Freddy, kind of almost turned out to be evil. So you can make the argument that maybe they're just doing Afton's bidding. Another strange thing that happened was, you know, going back to what I said before, very strange interactions with Vanessa and the animatronics and Abby. These animatronics are making forts. At one point, Vanessa asks Mike if he wants to dance when the music turns on and the animatronics are dancing and moving. It was just bizarre. I didn't really understand what the movie was trying to be. I'm hoping that Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which is coming out in December, kind of takes a turn and goes a little darker. So overall, I'm gonna give this movie a Mr. Cupcake out of 10. It starts out looking creepy and weird, but at the end of the day, it really was a little sweeter than it should have been. It really didn't have enough bite to it. I was really hoping to see more scares, maybe having Mike in that main security room, and he has to actually move the doors and slam them down. He had to actually turn on the light to see one of the animatronics in the window, or use the camera system. For the most part, none of that was used at all. So, what do you think of this movie? Am I giving it too harsh of a rating? Am I being too rough on it? Should I let myself just enjoy the movie for what it is? Because it really was a lot of fan service. And if you can get past that, the fact that the movie was very flat and not scary, maybe you just enjoyed the fan service of seeing the animatronics. Have a good day.